Good day, Las Vegas, and welcome back to VegasVibes Junction, your new home to enjoy the best coffee and wine while taking a peek at what's grooving and brewing in the music, pageantry, live production, and fascinating scenes in the city that never sleeps. And I'm your host, Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. I would like to thank the hundreds of thousands of loyal viewers of VegasVibes Junction on Vegas Live TV, WCTV, and BingeNetworks.tv, especially those watching on my favorite devices, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung and LG Smart TVs, Pizzazz.tv, and HeroGo TV. Plus, of course, in my very own website, VegasVibes.us. Please continue to support my show as well as my Vegas Vibes network by telling your friends to like Vegas Vibes Junction on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I also would like to thank the millions of visitors who came to Vegas this month as we continue to celebrate the Vegas Vibes Junction moment that Las Vegas is fully but cautiously open. We continue to encourage all locals and visitors to be more responsible in dealing with the extension of the pandemic so we can all reap the benefits of safer and peaceful community. When Vegas Vibes Junction returns, I'll be interviewing Pastor Lucky Tagaloa of Divine Revelation Ministries, who is also an awesome singer and the leader of their worship team. So guys, please stay remote until Vegas Vibes Junction returns. Welcome back to Vegas Vibes. Here with us today is Pastor Lucky of Divine Revelation Ministries, whom is best described by his congregation as someone who is laid back, fun, loving, funny, caring, and easy to talk to. Pastor Lucky is a cheerful giver and loves helping out in the community that he serves, and he loves spreading the good news.
Amen.
How are you, Pastor Lucky?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me here. It's such a pleasure. Sorry.
Well, it's our pleasure. It's an honor and privilege to have you on our show. And oh my gosh, I heard a lot of great things about you. And how would you react to that? How people describe you?
I don't know. I don't see it. My wife doesn't see it, so I don't know how they see that. No, I might be joking.
Your action speaks, right?
Yeah.
1,000 words. So it's who you are today that made people love you.
You know, it wasn't always that way. I wasn't always a pastor. Before I became a pastor, I was a service member. I served in the military for 20 years. So coming off of the military, it was a difference, you know, the way it is and how it is. And when I got saved, is when my whole demeanor started to change.
So who was that person? Was there a person who led you to God?
Actually, it was my brother-in-law. He's also a pastor, Pastor Bam Lauvao. His wife and my wife are sisters. So when we finished our military career, we came down here. We were supposed to go back home, but my wife hadn't seen her sister for a long time. So she followed me in the military for 20 years. So I said, look, let's do what you want to do. So we came here. He found out that I sung a little bit and asked me to help him with his worship team. So that's where it started for me, was on his worship team. And the more and more I started to sing on worship, the more and more I grew closer to God. The more and more I drew closer into his word. And the more and more I became not the person who I was before. I was kind of like a Saul. Do you know who Saul is in the Bible?
Please enlighten us.
Saul is one of the guys who went against God. Saul was one of the guys, when God did things, Saul made sure he tear it all down. But eventually, God saw certain things that people didn't see. Kind of like in us. God sees things in us that we don't even see. And so he enlightened Saul and became Paul. And by him being Paul, he was able to minister God's gospel. Instead of persecuting all the Christians and everyone else that believed in God, he became the number one person to minister God's words. So kind of like that. I was a Saul who became a Paul.
Wow, that's very interesting to find out. Well, I think there's a lot of stories, inspirational stories like that. And one of them is your story. So please, what is the story from your life that represents the essence of who you are today?
I think it would be, growing up in my family. My father and my mother, they were all about God. Sometimes we're kids. We really don't understand who God really is. We go to church because our parents go to church. But I think because of who they were and because of who they are, it made me who I am today. Certain things that I've gone through life, and I think most of it that tied it together was my relationship with my wife. Gotten closer and closer the more I got to know God. So I would say the inspiration behind everything else would be family.
Family and music.
Music.
Because you fell in love with the music, with the worship songs.
I did.
That you do.
The crazy thing about it is no one in my family sings. No one in my family sings. I'm the only one that sings, and I come from a family of 6, and none of them sing. But my mother's side, everybody on their side, they sing. And so I guess that's where I got most of that side.
So thankful, you're very thankful to your wife and to your brother-in-law because they gave you that was the first memory of God for you, right? I think
that's what it was. It was more of the seed that was being sown, and then me trying to water it the way that God needed me to water it.
And then what led you to become a pastor? Yeah, well, how did that happen? Oh my God!
Oh, it was crazy. My brother-in-law, he saw it in me, and there were so many. I wasn't ready at the time. I wasn't even ready to be a pastor. I tried to run from it so many times. My wife was still trying to figure out if this is the life that God had meant for us. I took this thing called a design course at the church that I used to attend. And the design course designs you to where your path is supposed to be spiritually. I took it the first time, and it said it comes with 3, your top 3 and your bottom 3. But the top 3 was pastor, teacher, and then, everything else. And I was like, I don't know.
So did you become a teacher first?
No, I kind of swept it under the rug and just became his...
Went straight to pastor?
No, I was just his leader for worship. I just became his worship leader and helped with the worship songs. Then I took it again because I was like, no, maybe it was the way I answered it. Maybe if I answer it differently, it'll be a different outcome. When I took it the second time, it said the same thing. Pastor, teacher, leader, worshiper was like the last thing on the list.
So how did it change you? How did it shape your life today?
Oh man, it's done so much. Being able to do God's work and minister with Him. It not only changed the way I view people, but it changes the way your mindset is. There's a lot of our mindsets where it's like we move to anger, we move on emotions, and that's a lot of people that do that. As a pastor, you move with whatever God has given you. You move by the Spirit. You can't move on just emotions. When people hurt you, you're supposed to love. And people are like, how do you love people that talk stuff about you? Or how are you supposed to love people and show them grace? Well, Jesus did it. And he's the best teacher of all. If he can do it, we can, right? And I think that's what shaped it for me, was understanding who God was in my life, what my purpose was. All this time I thought I was just meant to be a worship leader and just do that, but it was more. God has a plan for each and every one of us. It's just us trying to hold on to his plan for our life.
So how do you cope with that? Like when you have haters or naysayers, what do you do?
Love on them, pray for them. A lot of people say in the scripture when Jesus says, when someone slaps your cheek, turn the other cheek, right? For everybody else, like, no, you slapped me on the cheek, it's on, we're going to get it, right? But that's the flesh of us. And Jesus and God teaches us that if he can do it, you can too. But what we have is this world, right? The influence of the world that says, if someone slapped me, I'm going to slap you right back. You shouldn't touch me, right? But the thing is, what are you showing? Grace, or are you showing, the aptitude of the world? And that's what I think that, we need more of, right? There's a lot of people out there that's, they move on emotions. They move on whatever else the world wants you to do. Right?
Yeah, they tend to fight back.
Right, they tend to fight back. And some people say, look, I wasn't always a pastor. I had a prior life before I became a pastor. But I learned through giving up. When you give certain things up and you give it to God, you don't have to worry about the other things.
You've mentioned giving up. Was there ever a time that you wanted to give up?
Yes. It's not easy. God says it's a hard road that you're going to cross, even when it comes to following him, right? It's hard, but he says it's going to be well worth it. And the well worth it part is always giving up to your flesh. It was hard at first when I started. It's not an easy life for people who thinks, yeah, just go and put my name up there, pastor, just get the title. The title doesn't belong to you. The title belongs to God, right? Some people overtake and overstep sometimes on those things. But it takes a toll, on you sometimes, if you let it. Now, if you're one of those people that lean on anger and hold on to your anger and aggression, it'll come out,
What was the biggest challenge you had to face, and how were you able to overcome it?
Wow. My anger.
Especially having a military background.
Yes.
Please, what were you? Like, where were you based before, or what did you do
I
in the
was based
military?
all over the place. Our last 6 years, I want to say our last 6 years 8 years, was in Europe. Italy, and then Germany was our last one before we retired and finished up. But I was a non-commissioned officer who taught other countries to have a non-commissioned officer type of leadership. So just teaching them leadership and teaching them how to survive.
And you were able to do that with being a pastor?
No, that was before a pastor. But when I became a pastor after everything.
Yes, but you were able to use the...
Some of them I did use. I did use the military skill set of having leadership skills. I used that, and I kind of switched it to make it a little different of like how and what was going to be accomplished, right?
Going back to the challenges you had to face, what was the biggest one, and how were you able to overcome
I didn't even want to do, but the challenge I think that I had to do was my anger. One, I'm Polynesian. Two, I have a little bit of my mother's side in me. I'm also a quarter Filipino. So you have both of those mix. It's not a nice mix, So the anger part, it's hard to really overcome, right? But I had people. I had my wife. I had my brother-in-law. I had my sister-in-law even. I had people who I can actually just come to and talk about, spiritual guidance and spiritual things. But most of it was from my wife. So I would have to thank my wife for, I think, all of it. For every person that does ministry, people see the man part. They see the leader that the man is, but they don't see the background, right? They don't see how the man got there, right? With every man, there's always a strong woman behind you to kind of lift you up. And so with that, that's what she was able to do for me, So it's not just me. It's me and my wife doing the same thing together and glorifying God that way.
It's a teamwork.
It is a teamwork. It is a teamwork.
How are you growing and developing spiritually in your work or ministry?
That's a good question. And we love that part. my wife and I, we are all about doing outside work too. It's not more so just what we do inside the church. It's everything that we do outside the church is what we want to try to do. You see, Divine Revelation Ministry is based on us trying to equip more leaders, right? When we go out, we want to try and build these leaders to make disciples of many nations, right? When the Bible says you have to go out there and make disciples of many nations meaning everyone included, not just Samoans, Polynesians, Filipinos, Mexicans, whites, Americans. It's not just one-sided. You see, God doesn't see race. He doesn't see color. He doesn't see anything else but your heart. You know, so
He doesn't discriminate.
No, he doesn't discriminate. You know, and there's only one area code in heaven, 777. So that's one thing that we have to remember. My wife and I, we love doing that and just giving back to the community as well. So I think that's what we're doing.
Yes, you are partnered also with Curbside Community Ministries.
Yes. Curbside Ministries, Pastor Nick is another pastor that pastors with me under Divine Revelation Ministry. But I've also partnered up with Curbside Ministries and other community leaders right now that we're able to come out and just give back to the community. You know, it's always good. You know, back in the day, I remember when community leaders were all together, that when you were young, even neighbors would watch over your kids. You didn't have to worry about that. Now, it's like it's an art form that's been lost. You know, it doesn't matter what color you were, or whose kid you were. You always got reprimanded for whatever it was. But everybody looked out for each other. And that's what we're trying to do now with all the community leaders that I have, with Pastor Nick, with Curbside Ministry, brother and sister Tira and Will Faivaya. We have, just to name a few, Joanna and Pito. I want to thank them as well. Also, Sister Pearly Shells, Brother Gil, and also our Hispanic community leaders, Pastor Garrison and his wife. So I want to thank all of those guys for partnering up, not with DRM or Curbside Ministry, but partnering up as a community of community leaders.
So that is what's your goal for your ministry right now?
Our goal is really just to equip more saints to go out there and spread the gospel. I mean, that's all we really, really want to do, right? You know how it is when you walk into, you're walking into a room, and once you turn on the light, all the cockroaches just scatter, right?
That's an ugly sight.
That's an ugly sight, right? But it's almost like that. When you start talking God to people, they get turned off fast, right? And it's only because how it's being developed now. They have to see us doing more and more reaching out to people in the community. And that's what our goal is to go out there and partner with the community, rub elbows with the community. Instead of locking the doors of your church, lock arms. You're locking arms with kingdom-minded people to do kingdom-minded things for God, right? It's all about glorifying God, but how do we do that within people, right? How do we change the mindset of people? And our goal is to do that, to equip more and more leaders just to go out there and spread God's gospel.
And you have a worship team.
We do, yes, I do.
A choir.
No, worship team. A choir is like 30, 40, 50 members. A worship team is just a small piece band with vocals and maybe a little bit of band in the background. So it's different with the worship team and a choir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the version. Okay. Knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself when you first started ministry?
What would I have said to myself back then if...
Knowing what you know now.
You know what? It's a hard question to actually answer because of what I went through is why I am the way I am now. I wouldn't say anything. Sometimes you have to go through, the darkness of things. Sometimes you have to go through those things to make you who you are today. Because if it wasn't for that journey, you would never have been able to receive. And then when you start seeing people who went in that same journey, it's easy for you to speak on. Some people love it because it's not just about you knowing things, but you actually walking in the same shoes that they've walked as well. For me, I wouldn't have changed anything. Even if I had to go back and say something, I'd be like, look, just stay strong. I think that's what I would say. Just stay strong.
How about words of wisdom or pieces of advice you would tell our viewers who would like to follow your footsteps?
It's not an easy thing. But I tell you what, ministry is always going to be hard. And God always says, and Jesus says, people are going to hate you because of your following him. But it's not about them. It's about your salvation with God. So always, always keep in mind, God first and then family.
What has been your biggest joy in ministry?
I think reaching out to people. Reaching out to I've taught, you know what really, really gets us is, and I'm not a very emotional type of guy, because then, in the Army, they don't teach you to be emotional. You got to turn that stuff off. But I think ever since I've received God, I've been such an emotional guy, man. So I don't know how many people have reached out to me and my wife, and just the church members alone, to thank us. Some of them thanked us for saving their marriages. Some of them thanked us for saving their lives. And my one response would be, it's not us. It's God working through us. We always have to glorify God first, right? It's never us doing the work. I mean, we're doing his work, but God is moving into us to doing it. So we always let them know that, God first. Always give thanks to God first and everything else. But that's been the joyous part for us, is people recognizing who we are, coming through, praying for them. I love that part too, praying for them. And just ministering to people.
Please invite everyone. Where can people find you and all the amazing things that you do?
Yes. First, do you mind if I talk to them about the Christmas thing?
Please.
We have a Christmas fest that's going on here at 3660 North Rancho, up in North Las Vegas. We're putting on so much things. A Christmas fest. We have shows. We have Christmas carolers. We have kids. But this is the community thing. It's not a church thing. It's a community event that we're putting together. It's a free admission. We'll have so many vendors, close to maybe 25, 30 vendors out there just to give. And then shout out to Toys for Tots. Thank you so much, Toys for Tots, for supplying us with the toys that we get to give away to all these kids too. So we have 400 plus toys that we're just giving away to all these kids. So if you're in the Las Vegas area, it's 3660 North Rancho Drive. You'll see it. You'll hear us out there. And then for our church, our services is at 10 o'clock at 2585 South Bronco Street. Come in and fellowship with us. We would love to see you and have all of you there. And we do eat after, so that's the good thing about us too, because of the Polynesian and the Filipino side, we eat. So right after service, we eat, right? You get fed spiritually, and then after that, you get fed physically.
Pastor Lucky, if you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Superpower? I don't know. With great powers come great responsibilities. I think the only superpower that I think I would have is have more love. You know what I'm saying? I think it's one of those things that the world needs more love than hate.
And prayer of love.
And prayer of love, yeah.
What is your website, Pastor Lucky?
Well, on Facebook, we're called Divine Revelation Ministries on Facebook. We're still working on our website as well. But you can also just link up with us on Facebook. And our YouTube channel as well for Divine Revelation Ministries on YouTube.
Pastor Lucky Tagaloa, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Having you on our show, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us, and thank you for having me.
God bless.
Amen.
Catch me again next week as I feature another amazing personality here on VegasVibes Junction.
I attend Divine Revelation Ministries for so many reasons, one of which everyone is super, super, super welcoming. The pastor is welcoming and he's so down to earth. If you're looking for a home church where people could come and you could feel like just the love of Christ, come to Divine Revelation Ministries. You could come where you don't feel like you're judged. You don't have to feel like you're anybody but yourself. Come as you are. And that's exactly what our Pastor Lucky preaches. And that's one of the main reasons why I come to Divine Revelation Ministries.
Hey, welcome to Divine Revelation Ministry. If you're looking for somewhere to just come in fellowship and looking for a home church, look no further. Come on through. We would love to have you.
We hope you enjoyed watching this Vegas Vibes Junction episode as much as I did. Promise to join me again next week on this same fabulous Vegas Vibes network. And to all our global viewers out there, let me remind you that Las Vegas is not just about the world-renowned strip or the famous Fremont Street experience in the vibrant downtown district. It has real people, a lot of them musicians, live entertainers, and those involved in the world of pageantry. And to the people here in the Valley who work hard each day to make Las Vegas a global brand. I would like to feature you and your cool story right here on Vegas Vibes Junction, either in our studios or online via Zoom. If you believe that's you, please email me now at vegasvibesjunction@gmail.com. Before I go, I would like to thank my wardrobe sponsor, Anne Fontaine, located at the Forum Shops of Caesar's Palace. Anne Fontaine is now open for business as well. You may call Miss Anna Billings at 702-733-6205 to make an appointment. And now for my favorite segment, the Vegas Vibes Closet. Yes, it features an intricate selection of health and beauty products which I personally use. And this week, I'm proud to announce that Vegas Vibes Cosmetics, my very own cosmetics line, has added a variety of shades of matte liquid lipstick. It now has more shades to choose from. A must for ladies who spend most of their time outside the comfort of their own home for business and social events, like myself. Check it out, ladies! Be one of the first ones to try them out. Visit VegasVibes.us to learn more and order online. Follow Vegas Vibes Junction on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, or check out VegasVibes.us for updates and announcements. Once again, I'm your host, Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. Thank you for watching. Mwah!